Hey there, I'm Mary.
And I'm Lindsay.
And you are listening to What Comes Up, a podcast where we have open and honest conversations from the heart about what comes up in our day-to-day and within our lives. Thank you so much for tuning in. How are you?
I'm doing good. Feeling better today.
Yeah?
Yeah. How about you?
Good. I'm okay.
How's your emotional body?
It's a little... I would say it's probably like a 7 out of a 10.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I've got that stuff from that thing we talked about earlier this morning. Still just weighing on me, that perfectionism and that kind of thing. So it's been
Have you still been thinking about that today?
yeah, just not like all day long, but it pops into my head every once in a while, and I get a little anxious and stressed and. Just trying to remember what you said this morning, like remind myself of all the positives and don't let one thing that obviously doesn't seem like a big deal be something that ruins my...
Because we talked about how we focus so much on the things that we do wrong versus you could do like 1,000 things right and you could do one thing wrong and that thing is what you're harping on and just like letting it take you down. And like you literally have a whole list of these other things that are amazing, and we choose just usually unconsciously to focus on the bad.
Yeah. Really beat ourselves up. Like you said, I think it's childhood conditioning, past experiences.
Well, we tend to do that as a society too. I mean, think about like our news. It's all bad news. Like that's what gets people like hyped up, and that's what gets the clicks and, all that attention versus like good news. Yeah. So it's really interesting that that's just like a natural thing that happens or is out there in our world as like it demonstrates to us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I just also want to say really quickly, if you hear any dog snoring in the background, we have finally gotten our little girl, our doggo, to lay down and sleep. So the fact that she's in one spot right now and not clicking around on the floor, just like thank you for your patience if you hear her little snores throughout this episode.
That's our sweet little Ellie girl.
That's sweet little Boston Terrier noises. So
she's a precious little gem.
Yeah, sometimes she does not like for us to do other things other than give her attention. Yeah. So
yeah. So just keep reminding myself, I'm a human.
Yes.
And, we're not perfect. And it's unrealistic to expect ourselves to be perfect and to always be crushing everything all the time. And we don't learn. When everything is going well, we learn less than when something unexpected or undesirable happens.
Yeah.
We learn more.
I think that's the unfortunate part of it. But I think us as humans, we'd get pretty bored if everything was just smooth sailing all the time. Even though I'd be like, that's kind of silly. I'd actually like for things to be great all the time, but would we, would we want to like mix it up a little bit and have a little drama every now and again, something to work through and like make it stronger, which leads us into what we're going to be talking about today. So I think it was a good segue into.
You really built that bridge really well.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I will say, I do wish things were a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
I feel like I see this all the time. Like, I'm tired of living in unprecedented times. I would like to live in precedented times. I think life right now on a global scale is quite stressful in lots of ways. And so I think a little bit of spiciness here and there is great, but
somebody took the lid off. The little cap fell off and all the spice fell out.
All the spice fell out.
Yeah.
On the planet.
It's like we're dealing with external things and trying to manage our own personal lives.
Yeah.
And I think it just adds a little bit extra. It's like if you knew that your external world was going smooth and everything was okay, you felt safe, you felt like everybody's making all the right and fair choices, you could kind of show up in your life a little bit better with a little bit more confidence to say, well, at least these things are good and in place. And I know that when we get to this place, this is a guarantee.
Yeah.
We have this option or the support, but it's like that's not there. So it's
Yeah.
like our ground is kind of shaky.
Yeah, when you're
Does that
worried
make
about
sense?
when you're worried about your physical safety or your rights, your civil liberties,
As a woman, all of
autonomy
our
over
rights.
your body.
Jeez, if you want to have a baby these days, good luck.
Yeah,
You know,
or like
it's scary.
that. Yeah, when you're not when I can imagine that when you don't have to worry about those things, that it might be a little easier to you. I shouldn't say easier. You may have a bit more capacity to put toward other things. So
Yeah.
all of this is to say that if you are feeling overwhelmed and at the end of your barrel of capacity in your personal life, that if you take a look around, there are lots of reasons why we are all drained, and
Yeah.
you're not alone in it.
Yeah. Well, I think, do you want to discuss like kind of where we are right now?
Yeah.
And how that relates to this? I think because we talked about and what we've been experiencing as the sense of, I think the words that I've come up with is like being in the desert, you know, feeling lonely, you know.
Like a little lost, uncertain
Yeah.
of the direction that we should go in.
You could think of the analogy of being in the soil. You know, we've been planted, and now we're having to do the hard push through the soil to be in full bloom. You know, we're in the dark. We're in the chrysalis. We're in the desert. Whatever word you want to say. It's not easy, and it's definitely not fun.
No, and patience is, you have to like have faith, trust, and patience. And that is not always easy, especially when you have other external factors that impact your life and just day-to-day things, you know.
Sure. Well, and just like our last episode when we talked about being an entrepreneur, is that there's ups and downs, and our livelihoods are also dependent on if people want to work with us. You know, that is a big part of how we determine the quality, the security, of our day-to-day lives. So there is a lot of added stress when we're going through a season where things may be slow or uncertain, and we're not sure, you know, we can't see what the next step is going to be, but we're in it and we're driving towards it, but we're in the void.
Yeah.
We're in the scary space. So I think I'd like to talk a little bit about what we do when we're in that void, in the desert, in the chrysalis. Like, what are our go-to things? And if you feel the same way, like, drop a comment. You know, if you also feel like you're going through something, like, don't feel alone. I feel like we all have these seasons of life where we're just, you know, it's not the same day to day where it's like seemingly comfortable. It's like there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in a season of real growth. It's hard. I'm getting hit with a lot of shit that I wouldn't normally get hit with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's tough to sit in it and just trust and hold that space for patience and be like, okay, whatever this is, that I was going to be on the other side of it. I know it's really great. I wouldn't be in this spot, in this space in my life if it wasn't moving me towards something.
Which is also so frustrating sometimes, right?
Well, this just came to me in I literally just thought of this right now. I felt this way before I moved from Colorado out to Virginia. And there was it was probably like 4 or 5 months there where I had moved out of my apartment. I was living with one of my best friends, and I was I couldn't leave the state of Colorado because there were a couple of things I had was waiting for the title to my car. And so there were just some things I couldn't go anywhere. And so my life was in like a standstill, and I had started a new job and it was like, okay, I'll focus on that. But all of my belongings, because it was like if it didn't fit in my car, it didn't come out here with me. So all of my belongings are in this room, like the bedroom that I was sleeping in.
That sounds so stressful.
And it is incredibly stressful. Like all of your things are there, and it's just like, okay, I'm waiting till I get this, and then I can make that determination of when I'm going to put all of these things back into my car, because I had to move them from my apartment to my friend's house. I'm going to put them all back into my car and then drive across the country by myself. And it was very unnerving. I felt very untethered, and it was hard. And then I had a lot of anxiety. I had panic. My sweet friend was so, oh my gosh, I just have some really wonderful memories of just moments where she was so loving and kind to me. And just great. It was a fun time and with our friendship and everything. But when I look back on that, it's like, okay, that was me in the void. And it was hard. And in hindsight, the one thing I have said repeatedly is moving out to Virginia was one of the best major life decisions I've ever made, because like the door to my life, like I kicked it open when I made that choice. It was huge.
And you didn't really know.
Oh, I
100%
had no
like
idea
how,
what was. I had never been out here. My sister lives out here.
Right.
I hadn't seen the apartment I was moving into. Besides on like FaceTime, my sister and my brother-in-law went over, looked at it. They told me the things, and I was like, okay, I trust you. And I had never seen it, never been out here. And I was like, my sister's there, I'm going. That's the thing. My sister and my brother-in-law are out here. And so I'm going to go be with them. And that's going to be amazing. And it was, it is.
Yeah.
So that is one of those things I'm now going to use to your point of like, let's talk about the things we do, is pull up those past experiences.
Which is so interesting is that I know we talked about this before, but we had very similar situations. So like you went from Colorado to Virginia, I quit my job and moved to Colorado, and that changed my life. Like I literally, yes, it was the same thing. Whatever fits in the car goes. Everything else stays. Like I literally moved across the country. I didn't have a job when I moved. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure it out. So I feel like it's so interesting that we have similar stories that way. But I know you were going to get to where we were talking about, okay, like we've experienced this before. What are the tools that we use, and what are the tools that we have learned over time to kind of help us through this period?
Yeah.
This very challenging period.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the challenges?
Yeah.
Like we can have to, broad strokes. I
mean, sure, whatever. Yeah. Like, what's coming up for you that you want to share?
Yeah. Mostly just feeling uncertain about our next steps. You know, we have all of these. We have the business that we're doing, and our individual work, like work with individual clients that we do. But we have all of these other things that we want to do, and sometimes we have these moments where we're like, we don't know what direction to take. I don't know which way to go. We're having the concerns, we're talking about leaving the community we live in just because of how unwelcome we feel as a lesbian couple in a more conservative community. And not knowing when that might be. So we just have all of these options that we're discussing, and neither of us feel certain about anything. We're both in this space of like, I don't know, I think we're both trying to be really considerate toward the other and mindful of like what we're each going through individually. And I think we're both getting better at talking about those things with one another. I know I am. And that, I don't want to be like, my family's in Richmond.
So yeah, we're navigating, just the space where we want to end up, how we want to feel, what our possible new community might be. But that's really up in the air because we're still trying to figure out like what that next step is. If we're feeling it out here or there.
We have several things on the table that we're trying to make decisions about, and neither of us is definitive
I think what it boils down to for me is like, where do I feel the most support? You know, as life goes on, I know at some point we talked about having a family. Where is our child, our potential child, going to feel the most safe and accepted? Where are we going to be able to exist as a family? So these are all things that I'm thinking about. And if we can even make that happen, we're literally sitting on an election to determine if we're getting pregnant or not. Like, can we just state that?
Or married.
Or married. We may not be able to get married. Okay, I know we're talking about children before marriage. Like, this is not what we're going to do. We're forward thinking on this. We're really like, this coming election is going to determine a lot of things for us. And that means that there are a lot of decisions that need to be made.
Yeah.
With this coming up.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, what do we do in that? Like, I know there's some things the other day when we cleared our home, when we were feeling like super heavy, we both had our own stuff going on internally.
Yeah.
And we took the time separately. Like, really, I don't know what happened. We were just in our own space being quiet, right?
Yeah. Well, we were having breakfast.
Okay.
And we woke up and I had meditated. And you were just laying there.
Yeah, I had a slow start.
I had a slower start to the morning. And I was just laying in bed meditating. And then when I finished, I looked at you and you had like a really heavy energy. And you just seemed really tired and very, very down. Like your energy was much lower. And I asked you, I was like, do you want to take Ellie out or do you want to make breakfast? And you were like, I want to take Ellie out. And so you took Ellie out and I made breakfast. And then during breakfast, you just talked about how things were feeling to you. And to me, I was like, maybe she needs some time alone. Because you kept saying like, maybe I just need to take a walk and then I'll be better. Maybe I should just go for a walk. And you kept saying that maybe you just needed to listen to music or take a walk or do something. And so I kept asking, do you want to go and do your own thing? I have some journaling that I want to do. And eventually you were like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And so you went on a walk and I sat down and I did some journaling. And then you came back because we talked through your whole plan. I was like, do you want to go for a walk and then meditate? What are the things that are because those are your tools that you've shared have been helpful. So you did that. I journaled, you walked, you came back. I was journaling when you got home. And so you came into the like little combo space we have that has the altar and you meditated yourself. And then we talked a little bit about kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a little bit of a ritual with some of the journaling that I had done. And so I did that while you were still doing your thing.
Yeah. And I was ending my meditation and I was like, I really need to sage myself. So I started, I lit sage and I was sponging myself and I was like, this house the energy needs to change in this house. We have had a lot of heavy energy lately and I think it would be in both of our best interests to clear it out. And so I literally walked out of the room and you're already in the other room, in the living room, saging the house. And I'm like, okay, I just jumped right in and assisted you. And we both, I think maybe we even had our own music on, or I think you had music on the TV. And
I was playing a music for the space and you were listening to your headphones. Yeah. But you were doing sound clearing and I was saging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did this kind of back and forth. We just moved through the house really fluidly, however we felt was necessary. We cleared first and then we raised the vibration and then we both cleared our energy by moving and dancing, which is so cool because that's the first time that I've ever done that with someone else in the room, I feel like.
Same.
I mean, other than going to an ecstatic dance, but this was completely different because I was moving through all of this energy that was in my body and just completely not caring that you were in the room doing the same thing.
Same.
You know, we were both just like, we got to get this shit
out of this
so-
house.
Yeah.
Well, and then I had a moment where I thought about coming in here and being like, hey, I'm going to sage the house. Do you want to do that together? And then I was like, no, you don't need to ask for permission. Just, she's not going to be upset if you're saging the house. Like, let her do
never.
her thing. Don't
Never.
interrupt. So just do it.
When in doubt, sage it out. That'd be
And
a
then
great
you
t-shirt.
started coming around with all your sound stuff, and it was
Yeah.
very organic and was not nothing we talked about.
No, we
Because
didn't
when
talk
when I talked about the thing I wanted to do with my journaling stuff, saging myself was the only thing I considered doing, but that didn't happen until I was doing my
Yeah.
little ritual, and then I was like, I need to get this shit off of me too.
Yeah. No, we just like did it together, and we didn't even communicate while we were doing it. We were just moving back and forth through the house, and then after we were done, you know, we opened the windows and just like I felt like the energy definitely shifted.
I felt like that too.
After that, so very grateful for that. I think that's one way that's really helpful. Is there anything else that you have found when you're feeling like you're in this void space of unknowing that is helpful? For me, I know I just asked you a question, but
okay.
I might give you an idea. But I know we always come back to our card readings. That's very gives me a lot of assurance. Like, it's letting me know that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you find that's helpful?
Communicating kind of what's going on, because when we have that kind of heavy down energy, the other person feels it. And I think it's really important in our relationship that we talk to each other about those things, so that neither of us, I think sometimes we both can like get worried that we've done something to upset the other person, and the other person's energy and, you know, mood has nothing to do with us. And so communicating what's going on, and that I was really appreciative that you communicated, that you were willing to have conversations with me about what was going on for you. Because your energy was just very different. I mean, I told you yesterday that it made me very sad at one point. I could just feel how sad you were, and I can't fix it. But I wanted to do what I could to help ease your load in the ways that I could. And communicating helps with that. Journaling was really helpful, listening to music, exercising. I mean, there are so many different things that work in different moments. But this time, I mean, acknowledging how I was feeling and taking steps, like doing something actionable. So for me, I was having all of these negative beliefs that I was handed about myself, like my professional worth and my work ethic and that kind of thing.
And what that looked like for you, like what it looked like to be successful, or that you had to work hard or do or be a certain way.
Yeah. And so recognizing that those beliefs are not mine. I do not prescribe to them. I don't hold them. They have nothing to do with me. They have everything to do with what other people made me feel about myself. And so acknowledging those things. So I wrote all of them out. I wrote every single one of those things out. And then I wrote a new belief that I do believe, a new thing, way of living and operating and thinking and being in that sphere of my life. There's more empowering and more loving toward myself, more understanding of like humanity, and I'm not a robot. And then I burned the other one because that's not mine to hold. So this time that was helpful.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad that you did something really different. It seemed like, you know, sometimes we have to go a little deeper, you know, take a deeper dive into the subconscious.
Yeah.
To really like change those patterns within us.
Rewrite the script for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something that came up for me the other day, I did a card reading for myself. I just pulled one card, and the card was the ever unfolding rose, but the message was like, everything is happening for you and not to you. And that message in itself was a reminder that even though things are hard or seem like, not only are we in uncertain times with our like stability and just our like livelihoods and like what we're going through, life still happens. And we're still like, I'm still dealing with some other external hard shit on top of where we are in this desert. Okay. I'm like, there's literally no water in the desert, and then a fucking cactus slaps me in the face, or I step on a rattlesnake. I don't know. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it. There's something to be learned here. Then, just like the universe, God, source, whatever wants you to just surrender, right? It's like those are those moments you just fall to your knees and you're like, okay, like, what is it? And so as much as it sucks to be in these painful moments, to know that like we're doing either it's like some deep cleansing, clearing, letting go, or we're learning something really deep about ourselves. And yes, it has like this need for pain or suffering of some kind to be discovered, but it's really messed up in a way.
Super messed up.
How we come to that. But it does benefit us at the end. We do learn a lot. We do get to a better place. It's almost like God or universe is like, you're not at that place yet. You need to go through these steps, and then you'll be initiated into this space of being like allowing. You'll feel worthy, or you'll feel, like you've let something go, you've moved on, you've learned a hard lesson that you kept repeating.
Yeah.
And now the universe has slapped you upside the face, like, to make you do it, to make you do the work, to make you feel it, to make you go through it.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, sometimes I'm like, all right, already. I'm already in this hard place. I'm already in the dark, in the void. Can we please just have this be the one thing that I'm focused on? Like, we don't need to throw in other things, but that's just what happens with life.
Yeah. Whereas we learn a lot about ourselves, and I do genuinely, for myself, believe that these things popping up and going through these times in such a conscious way is a testament to my resiliency, to my trust, my patience, even though I don't feel terribly patient. I don't feel right now, I don't feel like I'm, being as patient as possibly I could be with some of this stuff, but I do think I'm being more patient than I give myself credit for. It's a testament to my commitment to growth and learning things. And I think that being a person who allows yourself to learn and grow and pivot, look for even the small things, because that's another thing we're doing right now is we're looking at abundance in different ways. We're talking about gratitude in very different ways. We're filling our cup and recognizing the ways that our cups are being filled.
Yeah, you're doing a really good thing at night where you're writing down what you're abundant in, right?
Yeah, 3 things each day. And just, it's eye-opening to find the things that we have in our lives.
Which could be similar to like a gratitude journal, right?
Yeah. But to be a person who's committed to growth and allows yourself to grow and pivot and adjust and make mistakes and keep moving forward and not let it stop you in your tracks, there's a lot to be said about that. And I feel very proud to be a person who is committed to that. And because I've seen how not allowing yourself the flexibility and the compassion to grow, to experience disappointment and not see yourself as a total, complete failure. I've seen how the inability to do those things just really causes a lot of pain for people. And I've experienced it myself, which is why I was like, I won't live like this anymore. Because the void is going to exist at all point, all throughout our lives, we're going to all there's going to be moments throughout the entirety of our life where we're in a desert, and we can let it just completely wipe us out and steer us back to a space that was
It's more comfortable, maybe.
Yeah, well, that is more familiar.
That's the word.
Not necessarily comfortable.
Right.
A place that we walked away from because it was so uncomfortable to be in. It was so out of alignment. We were not living authentically within ourselves. People will return to that familiarity because it feels safer than the unknown. But we may not be living our best lives.
Yeah, and sometimes people turn around, but just around the bend is the big old lake.
Yeah.
And
it's not a mirage.
We can't see it, and you're like, how much longer? It's almost like we're being stripped bare of everything, right? It's almost like a release of everything that you know or learned about yourself, to be able to be in this new space of openness, of true surrender. Be like, okay, like, you've guided me this far. I've listened to my higher self. I've gone down the path, and I'm trusting.
Yeah.
And we are in the trusting right now.
Yeah.
So if you can relate, you know that it's not a comfortable place to be in.
Yeah. And we would love to hear what your tools are, the things that you find to be helpful when you're in the desert and just in that space of, okay, I've made the big decision. Because being in the desert, just to kind of explain it a little bit, you've made the decision, you've taken action, or it's like, I'm uncomfortable. Something in my life has to change. So you've stepped into the change. And there's a space in between making the decision
There's a big gap.
and being at the end point that we want to see, that is like, okay, there is something greater that is going to come from making this decision, but we don't just make a decision and step into the greater.
Yeah.
There's space.
It's a marathon.
It's like driving across the country. It is like, I am never been to Virginia.
Yeah.
I am leaving the only place I've ever
Oh, God,
called
are we
home.
in Kansas right now?
And then we are
driving through the barren
driving
lands.
through the middle of
where we're like,
no shade.
we don't want to pull
no
over
shade
here.
to
This is a little shady.
no shade to Kansas or anything, but it is not the most, like, there's not a lot of variety. So it's like it's a little desolate in the spaces that when you drive from here to Colorado here.
Yes.
But yeah, you're like, are we in the middle of, we're in the center of the country right now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's that journey. You don't know what the greater is, but you feel that pull toward it. And so that's what being in that desert is. The desert is driving across the spaces that don't have a lot of rest stops, and maybe places that you may not want to stop at.
They don't feel safe,
Yeah.
stable, like...
Yeah. So...
Or you're sleeping in your back of your Jeep, and it just, I've done some funny things.
Find yourself trying to find your hotel in the middle of
done that.
Community that
oh
is...
my gosh.
That you know
It's been
nothing
so
about,
scary.
but
like
then...
pitch dark,
Yeah, it's
out
dark.
west, because there's no...
Yeah.
There's no pollution, so and there's like
pollution,
coyotes running across the street. I mean, it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
And it can be definitely scary.
Yeah.
So
Or like trying to find my hotel in darkness at 10 o'clock at night, and I know nothing about this town I'm in, and then come to find out, people are like, why would you stay there? They have a lot of, like, it's a dangerous place to be. I'm like, well, I was fine. I think I stumbled into some areas I shouldn't have been in, but I got to my hotel. Okay.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, life can feel like that. Life can feel like that journey.
Yeah.
Cross-country journey.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of growth along the way. There's a lot of things to be learned and learn about yourself. And, yeah.
So it's finding ways, while you're driving across Kansas, it's about the right playlist. It's about the right audiobook or podcast.
To make it as smooth sailing as possible.
Yeah, to give you a little bit more variety, to help switch it up, or, identifying the billboards that you see. But so those are the tools we do when it's like a literal journey like that. But in a existential journey.
Well, you could kind of map it out in a way.
Yeah.
You have to, I don't know if I want to say map it out, because you can't always have so much control. You know, you can have an idea of the direction that you want to go, but you don't know what you're going to get hit with.
No,
right?
and you don't know what's going to get you there. How exactly. You don't know what's going to pop up and how you're, you know, on the way there.
Right.
So it's like we have this vision for our life together, for our like lives together, and we are living in the desert of that, trying to get to that next space, and it feels
it's heavy. Yeah, and I just so look forward to the day when we can sit down on this podcast and say, like, look where we've come from.
Through the desert.
Like, we have arrived, and wow, what a journey.
Yeah.
That's going to be the exciting part, and to trust and know that that is coming.
Yeah.
It's hard to trust in these moments, but that's
you have to just double down on it.
You have to double down.
And constantly reminding myself and
it's work.
each other.
It's work on the regular, you know. So finding that practice, finding what works for you, if that's finding the right community, going to yoga, like, you know, something that really helps you stay centered.
And
you know,
connect
you
to
have
yourself.
to find your center.
Yeah.
If you don't have a practice, it's going to be so much harder. It's going to be easier for you to want to run back in the other direction and say, this is too hard. Or for us right now, as for me especially, I know you know, still have your job, but it's like, do I need to just go get a job? Like, do I need to stop trying this thing? And it's a constant battle. Being like, yes, it's easier for me to just be like, I'm going to go start working for someone else because this is uncertain. And this feels really uncomfortable in my body, but it's also my calling. You know, it's also what I feel moved, you know, by. And I don't feel that I get the satisfaction, you know, of working just a job.
Yeah.
You know, I want to help people. I want to move people along on their healing journey. So if you want to work with us, I'd love to work with you and help you move through your own desert.
I mean, truly, though, that's what you do. That's what you do with people. You help facilitate that. You help be a support and a guide in that. I mean, we all have to do the work on our own individually, and we don't have to do it on our own. We don't have to do it alone. Like, there are tons of resources out there available, and Reiki or mindful touch, sound healing, those are all really beautiful options that a lot of people find really helpful because they help us connect with ourselves. And when you are in the desert, and I mean, with the way that we are experiencing it, we both have talked about how we feel so directionless. We feel very untethered, and if you don't feel that tethered to yourself, that's very challenging. I've been in the desert and didn't feel connected to myself, and that is a whole different ballgame than when you do have that, when you are solid in that center.
Yeah, and even us, like, with all of our tools, we still need healers too. You know, I'm going to, you know, when I'm in this place, I reach out to my healer to help me to get to the next level. When I'm like, I've used all my tools and this is deeper than that. I need help. And that's when you should really seek out someone that can help you deeper on the energy plane. You know, sometimes there are things that are stuck, you know, sometimes there are hooks or things in you that, like, energetically are holding you back. That if you just release a little bit of that, the journey can be a lot easier and things can move along a little bit, you know, more swiftly. So definitely keeping that in mind.
Yeah, well, and even just understanding if you're in a space where you can sit down, like emotionally in a space where you can sit down on your own and do a little bit of internal reflection and come up with that kind of stuff, that it's not, you know, of course, there are some things that we should connect for sure with a professional to help navigate through. But sometimes we can do some of that and that's like, and when I say professional, I mean like a licensed therapist or somebody who can help us navigate extremely painful things that are triggering that cause like post-traumatic stress reactions, that kind of stuff, because we don't want people to be, we want to be responsible in how we recommend doing things on your own. But sometimes it is safer emotionally for people to work with a therapist, work with a Reiki practitioner, reach out to a shaman if that's whatever those things might be.
But also shout out to you that when people are going through this, that we are jumping into unhealthy lifestyles. We are eating habits, sleeping habits, stress, all the things that you work with people on too is very beneficial.
Thank you.
Really, you are so important in this moment. Yes, there are people that can help heal the energy body, but they need someone to help guide them through. These are the habits that I've now created for myself, and they may not be good habits from the stress that I've experienced from this time, right? Are they stress eating? Are they not moving? Are they not sleeping? So you definitely play a role in this too, love, with your skill set of being a health coach. So shout out. If you need an awesome health coach, Mary has helped hundreds of people overcome cravings and stress and getting good sleep. So, we'd love to work with you if this resonates. If you feel like you need some help, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to provide, this information on this podcast. But if you want to go deeper with us, we definitely love to work with you via, virtual or in person, with energy work or help with your health. So, because
sometimes, we can talk about our tools, but our tools are not everyone else's tools. So this is how we do things and what works for us. And we talk about this all the time, and I say it to my clients all the time. What works for one person does not necessarily work for someone
Everybody's
else.
journey is different.
Everyone is different, and every person's going to have a unique, the uniqueness of each individual requires a unique approach and a unique set of tools. So you might have some of the same tools in your toolkit as me, and we might be sitting we could be on a boat together, like an actual boat on the water, and it is crazy storms. And the tool that I tap into to help maintain my center on that same exact boat ride side by side with you might be extremely different from this tool that you use. They both might be in both of our toolkits, but we're going to apply them in different ways because what one of us needs in a moment is going to be different from the other. And that's really what we want to do, is help provide those things. So just know that our tools may not work for you. If journaling doesn't sound like it works for you, not a problem. If you taking a walk is your jam, getting on up.
There's so many different things.
There's so many. That is so limited. That ours is just a limited number of things.
Yeah. And we're happy to help you with that if you so feel like you want to work with us. So I feel like, do you feel like that wrapped it up for today? As far as that?
Yeah.
Else I
just want to reiterate the importance of finding yourself. That when we struggle, when we're in the desert and we aren't sure where to go or what's going to happen, and we're feeling all that uncertainty, coming back to yourself, who you are at your core, and listening to those messages that make you feel comforted, a sense of peace, a sense of ease, some assuredness, or even just takes the stress level from a 10 to a 9. It'd be great if it could take it from a 10 to a 2, but anything that just feels right to you. Really, those deep, deep, loving messages from yourself. Coming back to your center always. And finding those small ways to do that, or big ways, but definitely if the big ways seem too much, just small ways. Even if it's like every day for 2 minutes, I am going to connect to my center, to myself, and be very grounded in my certainty that I am a confident, capable, compassionate, curious person, and I can handle anything. I'm a badass, and I can get through this.
You are a badass.
Even if that is for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes a day, just coming back to that knowing of like, this is an uncomfortable moment, and I am deserving of what is on the other side that I don't know of
And
yet.
worthy and completely
yes.
capable and completely deserving.
Yeah.
So thank you for ending with that. That's very beautiful. Great message.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, as always, thanks for joining us today. And if you like this podcast, please give it a like.
Subscribe, follow.
Subscribe. It's always helpful for us as a new podcast starting out. So we appreciate you being here and listening to us. And please share it with a friend if you feel pulled to do so. And if you want to learn anything about what we do, you can find us on wellwithinstudio.com. We have YouTube and Spotify as well.
Also on Instagram.
On the Instas.
Facebook.
Wellwithin_studio. And just follow along our journey.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
If you want to work with us, we'd love to work with you.
Yeah. Let's build a community. We love you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for listening.
Be well.
Take it easy.